Heya, my name is JFischAndTuna, or you can just call me JFisch or Tuna. And today's been a long time coming because today, I'm going to be giving my shot at a Deltarune theory. Because, I've been in this community for 10 years, spreading my glistening eyes full of wonder and thought over countless theory videos my whole life, so screw it. It's time for me to make one of my own. Over my course of playing Deltarune, I've always been creating my own theories, and this one is probably my most coherent one? Let's get into it. Parallels between darkness and determination. And amalgams, because it's a byproduct of determination. So, we know that Deltarune and Undertale are parallel universes of each other. This has brought a very interesting design and implication to me about a certain topic. That topic being amalgams and determination. In Undertale, amalgams were the result of Alphys experimenting with that darn determination to try harness the power of the soul and cross the barrier. But we know the monster bodies couldn't handle it, and fused together to make those things that were brought back to life. Putting one past corpse into a newly animated form filled with some fraction of life. But some other monsters were affected differently, like Undyne or Flowey. I've found from what we've seen so far that darkness can fit as a sort of parallel to determination. Ralsei describes the fact in Chapter 3 that when things get darker than dark, you can start to see things again, hear them, and feel them too. Now, if you have no clue what point I'm trying to make, please bear with me. So let's cross-reference both of them. Determination, or determination, is able to make something alive out of a dead corpse. It's able to come back and have form, albeit not a perfect form, since said determination doesn't perfectly match with the unstable, fading monster body. And then darkness is able to make something out of nothing at all. In most cases, like Darkeners, it at least needs an idea, or an object of something to make a form out of it. Due to this, it cannot make anything an exact form of what it was. It twists it into an idea, a monster, a creature, anything. Now, putting aside Darkeners, I will want to discuss the pure dark and shadow creatures we've encountered so far. Mostly three main figures: Friend, the Knight, and the Titan, featuring Spawn and friends. These creatures usually follow the design of being fully black with a white outline, which is the opposite to amalgams, with amalgams being white with a black outline. But that aside, let's get on to the first segment, which would be about Friend. Friend starts us out with the first of our main parallels. The parallel we get slammed in the front of our face, which is the picture right here. If this isn't a blatant similarity, I don't know what is. The Friend creature bears such a striking resemblance to Endogeny from Undertale, which were all those dogs fused together with that nice little hole in their face. Unfortunately, due to the aspect of us not knowing too much about Friend yet, that's pretty much all I can say, but now let's move on to the Knight, which is someone I can talk a lot more about. I'm sorry, but no matter how much you tell me, or try to tell me, you cannot convince me that whatever this thing is a lightener. I mean, just look at it. Does that look like a person, or no, better example, does that look like an alive person? But I don't think it's a Darkener either. I think it's in the same category I find Friend and the Titan to be in. Already we can see some similarities between the Knight and Amalgamates. Amalgamates can shift and change forms like Liquid. We see that in a lot of their attacks, and the Knight is very capable of such as well. We see these very things like when it flies away and other things during the battle. But there are more similarities than just that, which are in the music itself. Amalgamate's battle theme has a constant sound of breathing in it. I'll show you as an example. And now I want to show the track that plays before you fight the Knight. Both of these songs clearly use these breathing sounds in their themes, which I find to be an interesting connection, but what I also find an interesting connection is static. When the knight is hit or damaged, its sprite gets all static, going all over the place as if its form weakens from such damage. But from Determination, we've actually seen this once before. Undyne. In the genocide route of Undertale, the player eventually makes their way to Undyne and kills her with one swipe of the knife. Undyne cannot stand for this fact, and with the sheer power of her determination, her form starts to shake. Seconds before she turns to dust, she returns to us in her Undyne the Undying form. The similarity between the knight's static effect and the effect used on Undyne I find to be rather similar to each other. The Titan and Spawn also follow this same principle. They stutter and shift like static when they're damaged or hit. Though, we should talk about the deer in the room. December. Now, it's probably the most popular theory that Des is the Roaring Knight. And yeah, no, I really like that theory. I do believe in this theory myself. I think Des is connected to the Roaring Knight, but how? I could possibly think of a way, which would happen to be the main point of this theory. The power of darkness. I also think Chris is visually connected to the Roaring Knight, but that's not the theory we're discussing today. I'll mainly discuss my reasoning on how Des is connected to the Knight near the end of this theory. I'll also discuss potential "screw you, your theory is wrong" points near the end, too. So if you have some comment you want to make about something being wrong, please just wait till the end. And if I still didn't think of it, deservingly murder me in the comments. Who knows? Maybe my Undertale fan self is accidentally showing. I can't read. Well, with that out of the way, let's move to our next lucky contestant. I mean dark and terrifying horror, the Titan. The Titan also follows the color scheme of black with white outlines, and is clearly made from the dark like the other two. It could even be argued that it's formed and birthed together from multiple little spawns, merged into one terrifying being. I mean, the spawns are literally referred to as shards of fear. That's all I have to talk about the Titan for now. More of my other discussions with the Titan will be brought up in the "why" and "what does this possibly mean" section of my theory. But for now, it's time for our 2 bonus honorable mentions. Let's throw the pure darkness beings aside and throw another non-darkener and maybe lightener into the ring. Good old I'm old Gerson. Now, we know Gerson is dead in Deltarune, and him returning actually grants us one of the clearest parallels to a creature revived with determination that's been right under our nose the whole time. That's right, I'm talking about how Gerson and Flowey have a pretty similar connection to how they were brought back. And such fact actually brings an interesting idea about determination and darkness. Flowey used to be a golden flower Azrael had died on, scattering his dust onto it. Then, once injected with determination, it gave form to Flowey. Usually the monster bodies or dust can't form correctly and turn into melty messes, but Azrael's dust was scattered amongst the flowers, an item that gave him a stable form. Wait a second, isn't this the exact same thing for Gerson? Gerson died and his dust was sprinkled on top of a hammer, which, with the power of darkness in the Dark Worlds, he was revived with an actual stable form, because the hammer, I assume, provided that stability for his revival. I particularly think this connection is quite interesting. But on to our honorable mention number 2, ERAM, or whatever that thing we fight is. They really only follow the color scheme of dark with white outlines. Nothing else. That's pretty much all. Pretty short. Bye-bye. Now on to the part that you've probably been waiting for, the why and what does this possibly mean section. So, given that there are these parallels, what the hell actually are these dark creatures? Because, yeah, determination created amalgams, but darkness created this? These weirdos? How? We have a reason for how amalgams got turned into this, but what about darkness? There are 2 possible routes we can take for this. And if you think of anything, feel free to comment about it if there's anyone watching this. Route 1, which is the one I mostly believe in. My second route is kind of just thinking for the sake of thinking. What this route is about is that these creatures made from darkness are beings created from certain fears. In the Titan's case, it's most obviously told to us by Ralsei. It's the bump in the night, the fear of the dark. Flavor text tells us that the Titan we encounter is the fear of the dark, which appears in many forms, and we are also told that spawn are shards of fear. So this makes me think that these creatures may be born from fears. What could this mean for the others though? Titan and Spawn are clearly told to us outright, but what about the Knight, Friend, Eram? Now, obviously this section is going to be entirely speculatory, because, I mean, it is a theory, but what if? The Knight is born from the fear of what happened to Des, or the fear that she's dead, or it could be the fear of the roaring itself. Now, with amalgams liking to merge together, or it could be the fear of the roaring that is seemingly merged together with the fear of what happened to Des. I'd really like to connect the Knight to Des more, but there isn't much I have to link it to that I can think of. But whatever state Des is in, while the Knight is seemingly connected to Des, I don't think it is Des. Or at least Des doesn't have control over it. From the unused text we have that is most likely Des, she seems to be lost somewhere, floating around in a void or darkness, not knowing if she's alive or dead, not being hungry or showing any signs of existing. Which I think kind of proves that she doesn't know what the Knight is or have any control over it. But I do think someone does have control over it. Be it Chris, Carol, or someone else in the Roaring group chat, they have the possibility of being the ones that are controlling this darkness-created being of fear. How they control it, I have no clue. But there are hints of the fact that Chris controls the Knight, or the Knight can be controlled in general, specifically in the area where we have the puzzle with the shadow monster in the mantle game, where after making it press the button, we seemingly have control over it, linking this fact to the files originally having this as a black deer, and the fact that Chris and the Knight almost have a good amount of the same poses. Yeah, who knows? Going over the other darkness creatures, Eram could maybe be the fear of nightmares, and Friend, I don't really know for Friend, but the best one I could personally think up is Friend being the fear of not actually being alone in the dark. Now, the crappier Route 2. This is my weaker reasoning that I thought about just to purely think about from a different perspective. It's a brainstorm I did under the impression of Des and the Knight being closely related. Maybe. Just wait for it. Wait. The brand new pile of December's dust theory. This is totally correct and right and correct. Now, I know you're excited to hear this one, and I am excited to explain it. Totally. But pretty much I thought of the revival sense in relation to my reasoning on Gerson. Gerson was able to be revived perfectly with a form thanks to his dust being spread on the hammer. But what if somehow December died? How? Who knows? But what if the dark brought back December in an imperfect form, the Knight? In this case, December didn't have any item to cling to, and so it became something similar to those messy amalgams. Now, this brings up a lot of questions like, if the Knight is Death Dust, how is it getting to different dark worlds? And what about the Knight being in the real world, seemingly taking Undyne away? And honestly, that's where the route starts to crumble. The best reasoning I could possibly think is of someone puppeting the Knight by bringing around their pile of dust in a bag from fountain to fountain. Thus, that would be the person hiding in the rooms big enough for someone to fit into, being a mailman of Death Dust. But okay, that's enough of Route 2. Back to the parallels. I find it interesting that darkness can do the same thing Determination was able to, and I think it's a pretty neat parallel between Alphys and Dr. W.D. Gaster. Alphys created these amalgams or revived creatures with determination, while her predecessor Gaster created something similar with darkness. By the way, I entirely think that the darkness was Gaster's creation in Undertale by Entry 17's logic. This was the creation that he probably fell into that caused him to shatter across time and space, and who knows, maybe that's what also happened to Des as well. One extra little thing, I find it interesting that in Chapter 1 we see this dark goop in the beginning area. Goopy determination, goopy dark, I trust you this theory isn't glooby, so let's talk about the last sections. The dreaded area, the holes in the theory. If the Roaring Night is created with darkness in the fountains, then how in the world can it leave dark fountains? Now, this is a really good question, which the answer is another 2 amazing different routes. Starting with Route 1, which, once again, I believe to be the most prominent and likely solution. It could be that these dark creatures are able to leave dark worlds and exist within the light world, which can be supported by the fact that in the Roaring prophecy, these titans seemingly walk amongst the earth, destroying it. So who says the night can't do the same? Their shard of their blade stays the same in and out of the dark worlds, so it could very well be the case. But light seems to hurt these creatures, so they are most likely limited to walking around light world at nighttime. In the Roaring's case, if it happens during the day, it probably won't matter if so much darkness is formed, because I bet that light world will experience an eclipse effect of being dark during the day. Now, Route 2. Just like the last route, this is once again just trying to look at a different perspective. But if the night does happen to be an object or a person, once again I feel like we'd have to explore the route of somebody transporting them or puppeting this idea of whatever the night is. But honestly, I don't really believe in Route 2 once again. This is just trying to think of a different way. Because I really don't think that the night is a lightener. And not a darkener either. Those are most of the holes I could think of. If there are any more and I'm an idiot, be sure to let me know. But anyways, that was my theory. I hope I was able to put together that, determination being linked to darkness, or at least parallels or related to each other. I'd like to say that this sheds a bit of light in certain areas for each concept, but once again, this is a pretty, I don't think it's the best theory. I was just kind of putting my ideas out there, and if this theory sucks total garbage and is the worst thing you've ever heard, please be nice to me. This is my first ever theory. I'm trying my best, okay? I'm trying my best. But it was something that I at least personally haven't seen anyone cover or anything. So if someone already has covered it and I haven't seen it, I'm going to feel like a complete piece of crap. So hopefully that doesn't happen. That's pretty much all from me and my off-script ending. So I am an artist. If you want to follow me, feel free to check out my Twitter or Instagram. I'll have the link in the comments. But yeah, thank you a lot for watching this video. If you did, I appreciate it. And if you want more videos like this, if people actually do end up seeing this video, let me know, because if it's desired, I can, give it up. I can do it. But yeah, that's it. Thank you. See ya.